Welcome back to the news at 10. The success of fighting crime in any community requires effective communication between law enforcement agents and citizens. Our reporter, Ini Thompson, who is in Washington, D.C., had a first-hand experience of how this works and now shares her story.
By Tuesday, November 11, 2014, I had spent 5 weeks in the United States, where I'd come for a 3-month exchange program between Channels Television and the Voice of America. My residence is in Baltimore, downtown Baltimore, from where I commute to Washington, D.C., the office of VOA. The neighborhood is calm and has apartments for mostly the working class group. They're out in the mornings and back home in the evenings, a routine applicable to me. On this particular day, I'd gone to bed at about 11 p.m. and I'd slept off almost immediately, only to be woken at about 1 a.m. by some scratching noises. So I stood up and looked towards the window and saw a hand making away with my handbag. I was too late to get it, so I just called the police. The individual had climbed up to my apartment through the fire escape behind the building.
A citizen has, let's say, for instance, a burglary. They're going to place a call to 911. So it goes through the dispatch center, the 911 dispatch center, and then the dispatch center places the call out to the correct district. In your particular case with your burglary, it was the central district.
All this happened within 10 minutes in my case, and 2 officers were at my residence.
When we get on the scene, we want to meet with the involved victim and witnesses of the incident. And such as in your incident, since you were a victim of a burglary, we want to see if we can get a description of the suspect, also a description of any items that were taken.
It got even better when 2 days later a citizen found my bag with all my valuables, including my tablet, with just the cash missing, and gave it to the police. I have long claimed my property with a promise that I will claim the cash after it's been used as evidence in court. My case shows a cordial relationship between the police and the community, a sharp contrast to the event in Ferguson, Missouri, where a young teenager, Michael Brown, was shot dead by police officer Darren Wilson. After the decision of the grand jury not to indict the officer, there's been protests in many parts of the country. Violent in Ferguson, but peaceful in places like the capital, Washington. Ini Thompson reporting for Channels Television, Washington, D.C.
Back home, the Alumni Association of the Federal Polytechnic Nekede Owerri, Imo State, have asked the National Assembly to expedite action on the bill that seeks to abolish the dichotomy between polytechnic and university graduates so as to improve the educational system. The call was made during the maiden edition of the Founders' Day celebration and carnival held at the school premises. The school management said the occasion, with the theme Celebrating Footprints of Success, is aimed at providing a veritable platform that will open up opportunities for the development of the institution.
The Federal Polytechnic Nekede in Imo State was established in 1977 under the military regime, first as a state college of technology before it was taken over by the federal government in 1993 under the Babangida administration and became a full-fledged federal polytechnic. Gathered in this 1,000 capacity hall are members of the Alumni Association, students, staff, school management, as well as well-wishers to celebrate the first ever edition of the Founders' Day celebration and carnival of the school. Afterwards, the lecture of the maiden edition of the Polytechnic Nekede Founders' Day celebration and carnival with the title, My Alma Mater, The Journey So Far, and the role of the alumni as partners in progress, was delivered by the Deputy Rector Administration, Mr. Desmond Okaraku.
What is our individual contribution to the fight against controversies and the people of our alma It is not only about political contribution, we must also think about human rights. Human rights upbringing of the students entrusted in the field and upholding the integrity of the certificate, different and goal.
Meanwhile, Meanwhile, the national president of the Nekede Polytechnic Alumni Association, Mr. Benedict Anakam, while speaking to Channels Television, urged the National Assembly to fast-track the process of passing to law the bills that will seek to abolish the dichotomy between the university and polytechnic graduates.
I believe give both the university students and the graduates and polytechnic graduates a leveling ground to play. Before we got our jobs, we had an open interview, a level playing ground. I'm not saying the polytechnic graduates are the best. In some areas, yes, they might strive better. In some areas, maybe the university should strive better, but they should be given equal level playing ground.
The event witnessed various dance performances and also a carnival train comprising of various departmental associations who danced around the school premises at Chilko Sports Center.
Welcome to Business News. Now, if you've been too unsure as to when to buy bonds, now might be the time, as yields on Nigerian bonds are expected to rise next week as investors cut back on their positions before the end of the year to meet their local obligations. Yields on benchmark 10-year bonds rose to 13.45% from 13.3% last week, while the 2016 bond was trading at 13.7% as against 13.4% last week. The 2022 bond was trading at 13.72% as against 13.14% previously. The local debt market has experienced a sell-off in recent weeks on rising concerns about falling global oil prices and the impact on the local currency, which has lost about 11% against the dollar this year. And talking about the local currency, dollar sales from oil companies could help the Naira stabilize in the next few trading sessions after hitting record lows. Traders expect the local currency, which has hit a record low of 187 Naira to the dollar, to steady next week on anticipation of dollar sales by the NNPC. On Friday, the Naira closed at 180 Naira 10 kobo to the dollar at the interbank market, weakening from 177 Naira 40 kobo last week. Dealers say sustained central bank dollar sales have helped calm the market, but the currency remains below a new target band of 160 to 176 Naira to the dollar set by the central bank after it devalued the currency by 8%. And turning our attention to the local bourse, a turnover of 1.5 billion shares worth 24.9 billion Naira were traded in 21,344 deals by investors on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The NSE All-Share Index depreciated by 3.81% to close on Friday at 33,228.29 points. The market cap also depreciated by the same margin to close at 10.9 trillion Naira. Similarly, all the indices edged lower during the week except the NSE Insurance Index, which rose by 5.82%, and the NSE ASEM Index, which closed flat. 26 equities led by Mansard Insurance, Academy Press and Royal Exchange Assurance appreciated in price lower than the 51% of the preceding week, and 49 equities depreciated in price. The price decliners were led by UBA Capital, FBN Holdings and Diamond Bank PLC. Meanwhile, 122 equities remain unchanged, lower than 126 recorded in the preceding week. And going to the crude market now, differentials for Nigerian benchmark Kwaibo grade crude oil slipped towards their lowest level in 5 years, weighed by a supply glut and sluggish demand. There was a trade in Platts price assessment window for a cargo of Kwaibo at dated Brent plus 85 cents. This was only around 10 cents higher than deals done in July and August, which were the lowest since 2009. Saudi Arabia slashed its oil prices for Asian and U.S. buyers on Thursday in a move that some analysts say shows it stepping up its battle for a market share
a week after refusing to support OPEC output cuts. This, according to traders, is forcing producers in other regions to cut prices to compete. Brent premium to Dubai crude reached its highest since August, emphasizing the challenge faced by sellers looking for Asian buyers of Kwaibo and other grades linked to the Brent benchmark. And taking a more general look at oil prices, U.S. oil settled at a 5-year low on Friday as strong U.S. employment data did little to lift the oil market's bearish mood a day after Saudi Arabia cut official selling prices. U.S. crude futures settled 97 cents lower at $65.84 per barrel, its lowest level since July 29, 2009. The January Brent crude contract dipped in and out of positive territory as the market grappled with oversupply owing to the U.S. shale oil boom and the recent decision by OPEC not to cut production. It was down 67 cents at $70 a barrel. Analysts say even with less drilling, U.S. oil production next year should help keep the world market awash in crude, and that may prompt OPEC action by the middle of next year. Saudi Arabia reportedly sees $60 as the level where prices will stabilize after OPEC last week opted not to cut its production quota. Well, that will be a wrap on business news tonight. Harriet will be back with the rest of the news at 10 shortly. Just stay with us.
Thank you, Mark. Well, next on the news at 10, Jose Mourinho's nightmarish run at St. James Park continues as Newcastle ends Chelsea's unbeaten start to the season. That's for the sports news. Please stay with us.